screen that asks if it is okay for this to be recorded. Again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today for our Lunch and Learn around mentoring. And so I'm going to go ahead, share my screen. I will let you know that this recording will be available if you would like it after the presentation. In addition to that, once I give an overview, we have Miss Latamara Woodley, who will be walking us through our mentoring guide. And then after that, we'll have a little time left for questions and answers. But at any point, if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. We want to be available to answer the questions that you have about our specific mentoring program. Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead and share our screen. Let's see. Hope everybody is doing okay today. I know that these middle of the day meetings can sometimes be kind of challenging. So again, we really, really appreciate the ability for you to take your lunch or just come and join us. Let's see, I am searching for the PowerPoint. Here we are. Okay, if everyone can see that, if you can just give me a thumbs up, that would be wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. All right, so we are going to jump right in. My name is Carmen Reese Foster. I'm the founder and executive director of the Coalition of Black Social Workers. I'm so excited to be a part of this group and to be working alongside of you as we fulfill our mission to engage, connect, and empower Black social work students and professionals. So I'm also an assistant professor of practice, online field educator, and Director of Alumni Affairs at the University of Tennessee College of Social Work. So I wear a few hats, but this really is my heartbeat, is the CBSW. So one of the reasons that we're here today, just some objectives for you, because you will receive a contact hour today for being here with us, is we really want to explain the purpose of CBSW mentoring. We want to provide evidence of why mentoring Black students in higher education is important. And then we want to spend some time actually looking at the guide and discussing it and having a time for Q&A. So essentially, and I'm going to have a lot of material to get through, so I'm going to talk pretty quickly to make sure that I respect your time, and you're only here for an hour. But again, this will be made available to you so that you can review it if you need to. The CBSW has 5 values. I'm actually wearing our values on my shirt right here, okay? Our values are Black excellence, mentoring, training, networking, and community. And so if you look at these 5 things, this is what really grounds us as an organization. And if you pull out the mentoring value, what it says is that we believe in the importance of relationships. As social workers, that's a value that we already know because that is in our code of ethics. So we believe in the importance of relationships. Mentoring represents a lifelong pursuit of knowledge and a desire to grow. So we encourage mentoring at every stage of your career, with a strong emphasis, of course, on student to professional mentoring, because that is really our target area, is social work students and professionals. So there are 4 general functions of a mentor, right? This is what the research says. There's a friend who serves as an interpersonal function, a career guide who promotes professional insight, an information source who provides practical advice about academic expectations, and an intellectual guide who can offer constructive criticism about empirical pursuits, right? So the literature says that there are 4 general functions of a mentor. But we cannot be all things to all people, okay? So as you're thinking about mentoring, think about your own situation, right? I know in my life, I have multiple people who speak into my life at different varying levels. So I have some people who are in academia who help provide me guidance on that particular path. I have other people in my personal life. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, right? So they really speak into me in those ways. You've got to figure out as a mentor, what do you bring to the table? What is it that really is what you want to be able to provide for a mentee? And I want you to think about that. And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to launch this poll because I would love to know who we have on the call today. So I'm going to launch this. Feel free to just take a few seconds and just let us know if you're a current CBSW mentor, if you're a prospective mentor, if you're a mentee. Are you a student mentee or a young professional mentee, or are you a prospective mentee? So it was a little bit mixed when we got the RSVPs for this. So I'd love to see who we have on the call. Okay, so we're going to keep this open for about 10 more seconds and end the poll, give a couple more people a chance to respond. But really, as you're thinking about what role do I play here? And as a mentor, what can I offer? As a mentee, what exactly do I need? Okay, so you should see those results on your screen. It looks like the majority of people on this call are actually mentors currently, or they would like to be. They're interested. Okay, we just have a couple of mentees, and so that may guide our conversation as well today. But think about that. What role do you play, and what can you offer? So what we're trying to do is rare. Okay, most of the time when people hear about mentoring programs, we're talking about like a situation or a setup where it's young people being mentored by adults, right? Because young people are formative and they're in these years where they're impressionable. And so how can we have adults really speak into their lives in that moment, right? What we are saying is, you know what? When you are in higher education, when you are pursuing a degree, either at the bachelor's level or the master's level or beyond, right? That's new to you. These are formative years. These are impressionable years in your academic career. So because of that, we think mentoring is really important for those students as well. And it's really rare to have a mentor that's in the same field, right? So a lot of the literature will talk about, oh, my job has a mentoring program, or when I was in college, I was placed with a mentor, but they weren't really in my field. We're trying to make sure that social work students are paired with professional social workers. And we're doing that for 3 reasons. One, because social workers have experience, right? Every social worker was a social work student, right? And so that's really important because you already know the path by which they're going down. You understand the field of social work. You understand the code of ethics. You understand all of these things that they are learning in school. And you can also be empathetic because they're maybe working full-time and in field, or because they're in online classes and they also have a family. So as a mentor, as a social work mentor, you've already kind of walked that path, okay? And then we're also trying to say, look, we don't want just a mentor that's in the same field. We also want a mentor who can speak to their racial background and how they're handling things as a Black social worker in space, right? Again, that is very, very rare that we are trying to put these two things together. And it's for all the same reasons, for the experience, for the understanding, and for the empathy. Okay, most programs are not as targeted when it comes to those things. And so we're trying to be real specific and real intentional with our social work students. And this is why. So minority graduate students often experience more isolation and less access to mentors and role models than their non-minority peers, okay? So think about that for just a second. Minority graduate students don't have as much access. That's not like So profound, right? When you are dealing with a people group that has been oppressed for 400 years, of course, there's not the same access. When you are dealing with a system that is built on institutional racism, of course, there's not the same access, right? So what are we trying to do? We're trying to mitigate that. We're trying to make a stopgap. We're trying to say, we know that you may not have the network, the access, the resources as your non-minority peers, as your non-white peers, right? I'm sorry, as your white peers, excuse me. So what we want to do is we want to create opportunities for you to have touch points so you can learn about those resources and learn about that access, right? You may not have it all, right? But we're going to give you pieces so you can start building, so that you can continue to move forward. I think one of the things that's really interesting, and one of the things that we often lose sight of when we talk about research with Black and Brown students, is there's a lot of research 0 to 5 that shows that most low-income Black students, the day they walk into kindergarten, are behind, right? The flip side of that is there's a lot of research that says that about freshmen in college as well, who are minority, that most oftentimes, particularly specifically low-income Black students who are coming into college, are behind. So we're playing catch up on a lot of different fronts. So when students come to us and they want to be social work students, and this is not just for UT students, this is for any student who's involved in the CBSW and who's a member. So if you're at the University of Louisville, if you're at UK, if you're at University of Memphis, if you're at UTC, even if your campus does not have a chapter, if they are a student member and they say that they would like a mentor, then we will work as diligently as we can to place them, because we know that our students are playing catch up. Even our students who come from the most optimal conditions are still playing catch up. So why is that? Why is this continually an important thing? 21.6% of social workers currently are Black or African American. So that means that in most spaces, in most jobs, in most field placements, our students will be underrepresented. That means in most spaces, they will be a very small piece of the larger social work puzzle that they walk into. And so because of that, we need us, right? We are the protective factor. We as Black social workers walk into jobs and walk into field placements and walk into spaces with lots of collective historical trauma that is mostly in our subconscious, right? And that may come out when we get triggered. And then we're in these spaces with people that may or may not understand that. Now that's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother set of research, friends. But we are the protective factors. We need us. We need us to show up in space. So in terms of mentoring and what the research says, is mentoring is not like the findings that were the same findings in 1970 are the same findings today. So Daniel Levinson is a Yale researcher, and after he did his research, his team said mentorship was deemed the most important relationship of young adulthood. Why? Right? Those students who had mentors had a higher job satisfaction. Once they got to the job, they had a higher job satisfaction because they were with people who understood their goals. They had goals, they had steps to achieve those goals, and it reduced the burnout rate. They had a higher salary because they understood someone was walking with them, helping them understand how to negotiate that. Right? How to negotiate their skills and how to negotiate to make more money. They had a greater commitment to the profession because they were walking with people. They had people walk with them who were passionate about what they did and who loved their jobs and who were able to give them ways to mitigate that burnout, right? So talking to them about self-care, talking to them about upholding the code of ethics. This wasn't specifically a social work study, but that's what I'm saying for us as social workers. And then those individuals who had mentors were more likely to become mentors because they knew the power and the benefit of someone pouring into them, and they wanted to be able to give back in that way. So those were the findings in 1978. More recently, in 2017, there was a study at the College of Charleston. The College of Charleston is 77.4% white, so it is a predominantly white institution. And they have started a Mentoring Matters program. And after the first year, they got all of this data from the students who were involved, about 60 students. And this is kind of the demographics. So they started a program for first year Black students, so entering freshmen. That's only the whole campus, the Black population is only about 7.65%. So we're not talking about that many students. They were matched with either upperclassmen, faculty, or staff, and 88% of their mentors were people of color. In order to be in the program, students volunteered, much like our program, students volunteered to have a mentor. Mentors also volunteered. There was no formal incentive. They just said, we want to start this program and we want people to volunteer, okay? 81% of the mentees were female and 19% were male, okay? So that's just kind of like the demographic profile. Here are the results. This is what they found, okay? What was discussed? 76% of the students utilized their mentors to talk about academic concerns. So remember, this was a college setting, right? Mostly faculty, staff, upperclassmen. So they were talking about academic concerns. 53%, it was personal advising. 52% want to talk about social issues. So we've never done a formal research study on the CBSW mentoring program. This is only 3 full years of mentoring, but maybe we should do that, y'all. Maybe we should do that. But this is great information because these are the things that students will say come up in their mentoring sessions. They'll say, yes, we talked about goal setting. Yes, we talked about my life. I was telling them about my job and telling them about my spouse. Yes, we were talking about the racial injustices happening in America and COVID-19, right? We were talking about social issues. So these are the things that are really in line with what a lot of our students say and what a lot of their feedback is. What was their experience like in this study? 60% rated that their experience was good or excellent. Okay, they had an amazing experience, but a third said that their experience was non-existent, bad, or fair. Right? And so part of what they found in this study is that those upperclassmen kind of ghosted the students. So those upperclassmen who signed up to be mentors kind of ghosted their student. And we have professionals do that a lot, actually, unfortunately, and then there has to be a rematch. And so this is just interesting. I wanted you to see what other studies were showing about how beneficial mentoring is, because even though a third of the students rated their experience as bad, 60% said it was good or excellent. And they're talking about things that help hopefully make their entry into their fields, make their completion of their graduation a little bit easier. So here are the benefits, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. So Latamra, we can dive right in. The benefits for mentors, right? So most of you on the call are mentors. That's what the poll showed. The benefits are enhancement of leadership and coaching skills. Please understand, this is not supposed to be just a one-way street. A mentoring relationship at its best is not just the mentor giving, right? It's also the mentee investing back into that mentor, right? And helping that mentor grow and helping that mentor be better, right? So this should be an enhancement of your leadership and your coaching skills. Maybe you'll read a book about that. Maybe you'll read a journal article. Maybe you'll get best tips and practices. Maybe that's something you can take back to your team at your agency, right? This is supposed to also make you better. It's also an opportunity to give back to the community and to the profession, right? Because as social workers, one of our values is service. So it's really important for us. It's ingrained in a lot of us to serve and to give back. So this is a way to do that. And then there's just personal satisfaction of sharing wisdom and experience, right? And then increased productivity due to increased satisfaction. So there's a lot of work motivation theories out there that talk about how when we are satisfied at our jobs, then we work harder, we perform better, and mentoring can help spur that on. And then it's also an opportunity to stay up to date with the current trends in the profession, right? Because mentoring pushes us, our mentees push us to be better. Benefits for the mentees, those of you who are on the call who are mentees, this is an increased confidence. Mentoring should be a confidence booster naturally for you. In an academic mentoring, in an academic setting, there are increased retention rates, right? So one of the reasons that colleges, particularly predominantly white institutions, have these focused mentoring programs for Black students, for Black and Brown students, is because that is hopefully increasing retention rates. It's amazing if you ever look at that research, that the top 5 schools who do this and who do this well have been doing this for years. And it is really for the purposes, there is this correlation between mentoring of Black and Brown students and retention rates on college campuses. It gives them a sense of belonging. There's an increased network, right? They get plugged in, they get access to people and opportunities that they've never had before. They receive honest feedback on skills and blind spots, and these two kind of relate. And it's the ability to relate to a professional without the weight of performance and judgments. This is why I say that as a field educator, we often tell students that their field instructor is the one who is modeling for them what it's like to be in social work. Right? And that's true. And I stand by that 100%. But here's the kicker about that relationship. The field instructor also rates them. The field instructor also gives them a grade per se, right, at the end of the semester. So some of our students don't ever really feel comfortable letting their guard down with their field instructor because at the end of the day, they're rating them on their performance. So this is an opportunity for our social work students to really engage in an authentic relationship with someone who can let them be their true selves. And that's really, really important. But it is hard work, okay? It's not easy. It's an investment in time. It's hard work, y'all. It really, really is. So here's the sacrifice. And here, sacrifice / expectations. Time, right? What we desire, how our program is built, is that you will have at least one point of contact per month during the student school year. So a point of contact can be, and Latamra will talk about this a little bit later, but can be a phone call to check in, meeting for coffee, attending a training together. There was a study done back in 1980 about specifically faculty and students and saying it didn't even matter if it were face-to-face or not. Even if it was just a phone call to check in, the results were the same. The students felt seen and heard and thought about and prioritized and appreciated. Okay, so that is really, really is important, that if you are going to take on this role as a mentor, that you show up and that you be available for your mentee at least once a month. Okay. And also, available to answer questions and give advice and offer support. And then the other piece of that is we ask for a commitment for 1 year with your students, right? Now, again, this piece is not research-based for us or evidence-based for us, but I would also go a step further and say, the most productive mentoring relationships that I have observed, right? No real data collection, but that I have observed have been when the student is followed with that same mentor throughout their program, right? So if it's a master's level student who's brand new to the field, that would be 2 years, right? But it doesn't always work that way. And sometimes it's good to switch after that first year to get a different perspective. But again, those are things that we need to get feedback from and feedback on. But we're asking for your time. We're not asking for a lot of time, but we're asking that if you commit, that you're honest about what you can do up front. What can go wrong? A lot. What does go wrong? I mean, a lot, right? And so what I have heard from students is that these are the things that have gone wrong. And I've heard also this similar from mentors. They don't feel like they're a priority. They don't meet consistently. Their communication is trash. They're not committed. They're not invested, and they just don't like each other, right? Like they didn't vibe, right? It wasn't a good flow. It was too much work to try to make it work. And so in that College of Charleston study, what they found, their top 3 things, because they did some qualitative stuff, so they interviewed people to get their feedback. What they found also was lack of availability, miscommunication, and personality conflicts were the top 3 items that made a match go south. Okay, so it's the same stuff. So intentionality really makes a difference. There was an article in August about the Coalition of Black Social Workers for the University of Tennessee. These were some of our student leaders with author Austin Channing Brown a couple of years ago, when we could gather safely without masks. Erica and Jamie were featured in that article. And so they weren't able to be here today, but I just wanted to let you know a little bit of their story. And I'll send the link out to that news story. But Jamie graduated from UT in 2018. So I was coming in as she was going out. And the CBSW didn't officially start until June of 2018, and she graduated in May. And she said that it is a very challenging program and it can be lonely. She's an online student in Memphis, right? So she's not connected to any campus. And she said that she didn't have the CBSW when she was a student, so she had to search for other ways to get that connectivity. And she said, mentoring a student is a very specific opportunity. I knew I had to participate when I heard about this. It's the way that I can give back. So Jamie was matched with Erica, who's also an online student in Memphis, which is one of the reasons Jamie really wanted to mentor her, because Jamie knew what that was like. And Erica was like, look, it wasn't just that she was my mentor, that she was a Black woman, right? That was like icing on the cake. I wasn't even expecting that. But she was a wife. I'm a wife. She was a mother. I'm a mother. She was a veteran, right? I got veterans in my family. We like to garden. Like this is it for us. Like this is a match. And so their story is in that article that I can send out. But our steps to a match before Latamara comes on, just quickly, the formal way is that we have applications. Yay! They're short. We have a mentor application. We have a mentee application. The mentee and mentor will set up a time for an initial meeting. So I go through those applications and I try to match people who I feel like have similarities and who would work well together. We take lots of things into consideration for a match. And then they set up, I send an email, y'all set up an initial meeting. And then after that meeting, if y'all are like, yes, this is so good, let's do this, then you let me know. Or then after the meeting, if it's not a good flow, like let's just say it from the beginning, right? Let's save everybody a lot of stress, then let me know and then we'll try again. Okay, so that's kind of the formal way. We have 2 informal ways that these things happen. When we had gatherings in person before COVID, a lot of this would happen informally. So at a cookout or at a holiday party, at a networking event, students would meet professionals and say, oh, I'd like to get to know her better, right? And so that was more informal. And then we made it formal and helped them. Also, an informal way is that if I know a specific student has reached out about something that they need, and I know a particular person who can meet that need, then I connect them in that way. So that's also an informal way. Like, for example, we have one mentor who really has said to me, you know what, I really want to mentor a student who's passionate about research, because that's what I do. And that's the type of student I want. And if you don't have somebody like that, don't give me anybody, but that's what I want, right? So I have that written down, like this person only wants this type of student, right? So please just let me know if there's something specific, some gifting or some skill that you have that you really want to share. Please let me know that. And if that comes across, my desk for students, we'll let you know. This is just a quick chart to show you that every year since we've started, we've increased the amount of students and mentee and mentors together. So our numbers are increasing. Our need for this is increasing, but we have work to do. Right? This is the first year that we've ever had anything guided, anything specific, because what we were finding and what the feedback was showing us was that, just like the College of Charleston research, some students were thriving, like Erica and Jamie and their mentoring pair, and other students were really sinking. And they were like, and the mentors were like, the student won't ever call me back. Like, what's going on? Like, I'm trying to find her. She's still alive, and so we said, we need to provide more structure for people so that everybody's on the same page about what our expectations are, about what the time commitment is. And here we are going to give you this as a tool and a guide to use. You don't have to use it, right? You might have your own stuff. You might just want to read a book with your mentee, whatever you all come up with that makes sense. But we wanted to, in the spirit of excellence and preparedness, we wanted to give you something so that you could have some guidance. So Latamara is awesome. She's on our board. I really appreciate a lot of her guidance and wisdom. She is such a critical thinker about so many different things. And so she was the natural choice to put this mentoring guide together. She has been in MSSW for a long time. She graduated in 2006. She's currently employed with the Tennessee Department of Human Services as a business analyst, and she is responsible for doing a whole lot of stuff I don't understand. She improves program operations and service deliveries. She improves service deliveries by increasing benefit accuracy, informing policy change, maintaining state and federal mandates, updates, and corrections for the state's SNAP and TANF programs. And this position that she's in allows her to help others be their best. And so one of the really cool things about Latamara is that she is an avid exerciser. She loves to run. You can always find her jumping out of a plane or something. I mean, she is like the most adventurous human that I know. And so I'm excited to have her kind of share with you what she's created as our mentoring guide. So Latamara, take it away. I can stop sharing.
All right. Hey, everybody. Can you all hear me? Awesome. So thank you so much, Carmen. I appreciate you asking me to do this. Carmen is a ball of fire. She's so hype and gets you hype about what you're doing or whatever. So really wish she was teaching when I was in school, but she was probably in high school then or something when I was going to UT. But we're going to talk about the guide that we created. So let me know if you can see it. I hope so. So we're just gonna go through it. So I'm not as hyped as Carmen, so I'm a little bit chill mode. So just let me know if it gets a little boring or whatever. I need to throw a little joke in there or something. I got a lot of corny jokes. All right, so we'll start with just the introduction about and welcoming everyone to the program. We had Carmen say a few words and sign it at the end. We give you a brief synopsis of the program and the goals, which Carmen also went over. And then we talk a little bit about just best practices for mentees and mentors, you know, how to have a successful relationship with each participant. Um, and of course, you all, I'm sure, have your own ideas of what makes a good relationship with you and working with another person as far as mentoring and working with them. Then we have a participation agreement. We came up with this one because some programs, so a lot of this information is based on what I would like to see, what I would have liked to have had from my mentor, and also just researching and getting feedback of what has worked for, you know, other people. So one thing was you want people to have kind of a buy-in. So we're not paying for it, it's free. So like having an agreement lets you know, kind of gives you a buy-in to the program about what you're signing up for, a little bit about what your responsibilities are and what your the goals you're trying to set for yourself. So we have one for the mentor and the mentee. Then we go, this is a glance at the overall objective for the year that we came up with. So we'll start in September, just getting to know each other, you know, seeing if you're a good fit, talking about what your interests are, who your skills, what your skills are. And then October, we go into professional development. And again, all of this is just a suggestion, just to give you some points of a reference or to discuss. We go into November, casting the vision, which is something I knew, I just learned. I was call it write the vision, but vision casting is something that we can talk about in November. In December, we go with the temperature check, with just translating your current skills into your career, because it's the middle of the year. We're getting ready to wind down for most people, those who are in their second year and getting ready to finish up. And of course, January is always reset. So we want to back up, look over our goals, see what points we made, if we need to readjust, because sometimes our goals that we set out for ourselves aren't always what we where we're going or what we need to make some adjustments. And of course, self-care, which just has been the big topic last year and this year. So it's the new buzzword. So we just once you discuss with your mentee about some self-care tactics that you use. March, building your network, and then April, wrap it up, talk about what you learned. Hopefully you met some of your goals that you and your mentee have set out for the year. So I guess we'll just go through and break down some of them. Feel free to post something in the chat if you have questions about anything that's on here. Again, these are all just suggestions, just talking points, prompts for you and your mentee. So we have an icebreaker. A lot of stuff is still virtual. If you're not comfortable meeting in person, you can do, of course, virtual for your first meetup. It's probably best to, you know, have your camera on so you can see each other, so you can be more familiar with who you're talking to. I know a lot of people probably saw that movie Clickbait on Netflix, so it'd be good to have a face-to-face person that you can see, that you to know for sure who you're talking to.
Hey,
Then after that, of course.
Someone has asked in the chat, can you zoom in on the document a little bit? I mean, probably make it like 100% if that's possible. There you go. Hopefully that works for who put that in the chat. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. So yeah, just some little discussion points for you to talk to, you know, get the conversation started or going. A lot of times my mentee, or my mentor, she had me fill out, I'm sure everyone is familiar with the assessments, and then Carmen added this other assessment that I wasn't aware of. So this one is a free version. There's also a free and a paid version for the strength base, if you're more familiar with that. So either one works. So that can maybe give your mentee something to go by, a jump off to start. And then of course, end your session with goals for the next meeting. Set up your time if you want to do it for the whole year, if you just need to go by month, and how you're going to communicate, if it's just going to be a text, or if you're going to meet virtually or in person, or whatever you're going to do, and just clarify what your expectations are for your next meeting. And for October, this is when we really get into it. After they've done their assessments and you all have set goals, then you start getting into doing the work and talking about professional development and setting your long and short and long-term goals, mid-range goals that you're going to work on for the year, they want to work on for the year. And this is just where you start to put in your work. And this is just a little fun activity for the mentee to jot down the goals that they come in, 2 or 3 goals that they come up with for short term, long term, and then for the mentor to maybe look over them. During that time, you can have the discussion during that meeting, and the mentor makes some suggestions. So it's kind of like a journal. I guess you can make it interactive. We can send it in a PDF file, so you can type on it, or you can print it out. We do have some links in here, but having it both ways might be more helpful. So you can jot down different discussion points, or so they'll have something to look back on or follow up with. So I guess it's kind of like a guide / workbook. And then here's where we talk about the long range goals and any barriers they might have. So then you as a mentor would try to help them work through those barriers or what they think are barriers. And then in November, we're going to talk about writing your own personal mission statement, what your core goals are, and where you see yourself in the future. The last mentor I had really delved into this and introduced this to me, so I thought it was really great. It made me break everything down to the most minute details. So like if you keep asking yourself why this, why that, and fully get down to, because a lot of students, I guess, will come to you, not a lot, but will say they're not really sure what they want to do. If they don't want to go the clinical route, or if they want to go macro, but they're not sure how or why, or what specifically what they want to do, then checking out their core values and sticking true to their core values might be a little bit more helpful into getting to that specific why and vision for themselves. So it's like an elevator speech for your personal brand. And of course, we go down into expanding and clarifying your vision, get to your overall outcomes and values. So this is just more about creating your mission statement and your vision for yourself. And then in December, it's the holidays. So you want to talk about those job skills or professional skills that they might already have that they don't really know or feel that they have or hadn't even thought about. Of course, communication and working well with others is general, being able to solve problems and think on your feet. But sometimes relating the skills you already have to social work might be a little daunting to people. Say my field area was research. When I started working for the state, I worked in the research and development unit and working with SPSS, which I wasn't good in school, but guess who got a job working with SPSS? So then that job parlayed me into working as a business analyst, because I was familiar with the IT side of things as well as the policy programming side of things. So it makes me a great liaison to be able to bring those two together. So just working through what your mentee already has and brings to the table, and how they can translate that into the exact career job field that they want to go into, or population that they want to work with. A lot of times they don't know what population they want to work with, and you don't have to narrow that down all the time. Just sometimes this is a little helpful for them. January, we're going to reevaluate what we've gone over through the whole year so far. There may be some goals we need to change. There may be a new direction we need to go. They may have learned something, picked up something along the way in their intern, in their field placement, or in school. They may have had a professor that piqued their interest for something they never thought about before. So now they want to put that on their plate and, change things up. So just a overall maintenance checkup on where they are and what's going on. February is a good time for self-care because it's the month of love. So loving ourselves, we can only pour out what we have available. If we don't have anything available, then we're not really fully able to do our job to the best of our ability. So just reminding your students to take care of themselves so that they can be able to continue to grow and do what it is they need to do. So there are various ways. It doesn't even have to be a full day of self-care. You can take 5 minutes, if you need to go take a break, take a breather before you respond to that email, or maybe you just need some other coping mechanisms, since maybe the ones you have not working. We also need to remind people that their job has EAP program. A lot of times people forget about those programs. You get at least 5, now I don't know about all of them, but for my job for the state, we get at least 5 free. So taking advantage of those is helpful. It's part of EAP, it's part of self-care, as well as just having somebody, a support system in every area of your life. We just want to keep reminding social workers and people in general of self-care and taking care of themselves. In March, we call this our building your network. Of course, joining CBSW is a great network. There's also NASW and ACASO, and whatever area that they're interested in working in. There's research networks and different things, and they don't necessarily have to be social work programs, of course. You can have other leadership programs, because you just don't want to stay in the social work realm. You want to expand yourself and get into other realms, because that's how we branch out and have social workers working everywhere. So I did used to go to a lot of research conferences, and there weren't a lot of social workers, but a lot of people that were doing social work, actually, when you dig into their background, they did have maybe their undergraduate was social work, or the bachelor or graduate degree was social work, but now they're have another title or something else. So just talking to them about continuing to build their network and put themselves in the right places. And cleaning up social media. If we're going to get into the professional world, we need to clean up our social media. There may be some things on social media that we shouldn't have, like we shouldn't be smoking a blunt on our social media. If we're trying to get into the professional world, shouldn't be having those drinks on there. Maybe change your name or have a personal and a professional page. Also, LinkedIn is not Facebook, so what you're doing on Instagram, TikTok, it doesn't go on LinkedIn. There are recruiters and people, headhunters, who really do look at your LinkedIn profile and read the information on LinkedIn. So just reminding to them to go through and clean up their social media accounts. I know some people that I work with, they don't even have their work identified on their social media account, because it's just best not to. So just talk to them and remind them, just put that little tidbit out there about cleaning up your social media account. And April is the end of the school year. So we're going to wrap it up. We're going to go back through our goals and objectives. Hopefully we can check off these 3 boxes of what we said we want to do and see that we actually did them. Hopefully your mentee does feel like they were engaged and had a good relationship with you. We want the mentee to feel empowered, and we want them to feel like coming to CBSW for the mentoring program gave them space to get what they need and be who they are as a social worker, as a female, as a male, as a Black social worker. And some of these I did have suggested activities for you to do with your mentee, because not all the time we're not going to just sit and discuss or have conversations. Sometimes it's okay to play, do some kind of learning game or activity or something like that to get your mind going. And then these are a few of the resources that I use. You're welcome to click on them and go back through and pull whatever information will be helpful for you to look at. And then I also have some book. I wasn't heavy on the book recommendations throughout the year because I know we're in school, so we have enough homework and enough papers as it is. So I didn't want to put like reading a book and doing a little report or whatever as an activity. So these are just some extra books that, you know, just getting your mind thinking or going that are good for, you know, to read in your spare time for you or the mentee. And if any books you have that you want to add to this, so we can build like our own little CBSW recommendation list if we want, so everybody can add to this list throughout the years. And I think that's about it. Do we have any questions? All right, that sounds good to me. Yay.
Tamara, thank you so much for going through that guide with us. It looks like, oh, Elizabeth said great outline to provide guidance for the year. That's great. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for that, because we really did want to be able to give you something, because, you know, I think that just keeps everybody focused and on track. So if you guys do have questions that come up, please feel free to email us if there are questions specifically about the guide or the resources. You know, I'm sure Tamara would be happy to answer any of those questions or to point you in the right direction. But we really, I mean, this is our bread and butter, is our mentoring program. I think that it is so very important, as stated with the research that's been shown, particularly for Black students with who are pursuing professional degrees. It's just so very critical that we continue to be able to provide a stopgap and to help along the way to bridge them. And I just want to leave us with a couple of just quotes. This quote: "A mentor empowers a person to see a possible future and believe it can be obtained." And then also, "We are our ancestors' wildest dreams." And so one of the reasons that this is such powerful work is because your mentee will be able to see in you that this is possible. That's huge, right? There are not that many Black social workers in the grand scheme of social work, right? And so for a social work student or for a young professional, because we do have young professionals paired with mentors as well, for young people starting out, it is important for them to be able to see that this is possible. It's important for them to be able to have examples of healthy, thriving Black social workers in the community, in the profession, because oftentimes we're talking about burnout, or we're talking about trauma, or we're talking about, you know, things that are just so heavy. So for students to have that as a first entry to either their schoolwork or the profession, to have a healthy, thriving Black social worker to look up to, that can really help sustain them in our field. So that's really, really important work that you all are doing. Thank you so much. Ahmad, thank you so much for that book recommendation. Tamara's got it and she's adding it. And we will email out an evaluation, just real short evaluation, and you can expect your CEU, your contact hour certificate early next week, if not tomorrow. Okay. Thank you guys so much. If you're interested in that email, I'll also send out an application to be a mentor, and it will also have the mentee application on that as well. So we are officially launched for the fall. So those of you who are already matched, you'll be getting an email shortly as well too. So thank you all so much. Thank you for your interest. We're here. Please reach out to us. Okay. Take care. Have a great day. Bye. Thanks, LaTamara. You did awesome.